We've got full program this morning, I think. Like I said, let's go ahead and get started. This time, I'd like to ask John Zellman, if you would lead us in prayer, please.
Father, we thank you to be together and do this morning. We thank you for our freedoms that still allow us to come together like this. I just would ask, Father, that you bless the food that we've partaken of, and that you would bless our everything that transpires here this morning. Thank you for the efforts of those that make this possible. Be with our speaker and with every element of this gathering this morning. We ask it all in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. George Killian. George, would you lead the pledge of allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. It's great to see all of you out here. Of course, I see a lot of new faces. So before I forget, let me tell you, if you didn't get an email reminder of this meeting, if you'll give me your email address before you leave, you'll get one about next month's meeting and the following months. This time, I'd like to recognize our elected officials who are here, other than our speaker. We'll introduce him later. But in no particular order, let's start right here. We're real tickled to have Senator Clay Schofield with us, who represents a part of DeKalb County. Senator Steve Williams,
Good morning.
our senator. District Attorney Michael Dale. Good morning. Chester from Fort Wayne. Good morning. Matt Sharp, I think, is back there, member of the County Board of Education and also the county administrator.
Jeff Williams.
Who else am I missing?
Jeff Williams, Mark Richards.
Good. Good. Tyler R. Oh, yeah, I was going to go back and do
Good morning.
Well, we got a couple of councilmen from Fort Wayne over there. Jeff Williams, who's a member of the County Board of Education. Richards, another member of the Board of Education. Tyler Wilkes, Revenue Commissioner. Okay, who else on this? Lamar Bray, Mayor. Lamar Bray, Mayor of that. Good thing. This is a good problem to have. We've got so many officials, I can't keep up with all of them. Also, I know we've already got some people who have announced their candidacy for local offices, and we've got some other people who may be going to announce today. And in connection with that, our county chairman, Scotty Vaughn, has asked to say a few words to the group before we go on to those announcements.
Thank you, Jack. Pretty good crowd here today. Just got a couple things to go over for everybody that we've got going on right now. We've got headquarters established now. We're working towards getting it finalized and getting it going. It's at 222 Galt Avenue, right downtown Fort Wayne, right beside Fort Wayne Footworks. It's going to be a very public location. We have third Saturdays in there, a lot of and boom days. So good place for us to get coordinated and help our candidates as we progress towards the primary election in June. You know, we've got several candidates that I've been talking with them, I feel like, every few days for, it seems like 6 months now, and some of them longer than that. It's just a good time to be a Republican. It's just good to have these folks running for office. We've got good people seeking a job that they're passionate about and they want to make a difference. And that's what's important. We just don't need someone to run as a Republican to have somebody run it. That's not, we've done that in the past and it didn't work out too well. But, you know, what the party can provide a candidate is we're going to have a headquarters, we're going to have some manpower, and we're going to be coordinated. We're going to have maps hanging on the wall where we can look. If you have a question about something, if you're running for office, we're going to be able to help you instead of at the end of the campaign writing you a check. I think it's more important. And I spoke with Tyler Wilkes and some Jason Barnett. I spoke with those guys about what we could have done to help them more during their campaign. And that's one of the things that they said was just, we need people to help. You know, money can't vote, people do. So, you know, that's what we're wanting to do. We're also partying with the state party. I mean, working together with the state party. You know, the biggest thing they want from us is a good plan, and we're working on that. Establishing this headquarters, having hours of operation, being efficient with everybody's time. You know, that's what we want to do. Those of you candidates who have announced or are going to announce, if you need something from me, call me. I'll help you any way I can. If you need me to do something, I promise you, it's within my power to do it. I just want to be supportive and have our party together behind our candidates. That's what we got to have to be successful. At this time, speaking to that, Nick Welden's asked me to read a press release that he has read here. It says, Valley Head Police Chief announces run for the Republican nomination for DeKalb County Sheriff. Nick Welden, Valley Head's current police chief, is excited to officially announce his run for the Republican nomination for the office of DeKalb County Sheriff. Nick Welden has 17 years of experience in law enforcement that he will bring to the job. Nick has been a Republican his entire life and believes that the conservative values that he and the Republican Party share are vital to accomplish the following: lead the department with conservative moral values, be accessible to the public, streamline the budget and cut out wasteful spending, increase patrols and officer saturation in the community, increase publication beyond the DARE program. And at this time, I'd like to introduce Nick Welden and let him follow up on that.
I appreciate that, Scotty. I felt like I was kind of walking on air through there. It's been a big week. I've been blessed. The Lord has definitely blessed me. My wife had a baby girl Monday night, 7 pounds. It's been a big week, and I've been waiting on this week for a long time for everything to take its course and praying about it. But you know, I'm just an ordinary person. I've never had anything, and I'm nobody. I was born with a silver spoon, and I definitely don't have one now. But what you see is what you get. I mean, I'm grounded, and I got a solid foundation, and I come from good raising, and I've got the experience in law enforcement that I believe is required, you know, for integrity and putting morals back in the department, and somebody for the people. You're not going to hear me bash anybody, no matter who it is. I'm just running for one specific thing. Since I was a little boy, it's a dream I always had. And I feel like people that dream the biggest make the biggest success in the field they go after. And that being said, I am announcing that I will be running for sheriff. And I've got some major plans, and we've got it laid out from A to Z. We've been working with the party. We've got a good scope of events planned, and a lot of good people to put in these places. But I just want people to know who I am and what I stand for. You know, I'm the same today as I was yesterday, all the way back. You know, I went to work changing tires and oil for Lester Black right out of high school. I didn't make much money, and I went right there and I went on to the state park, got a state job. I cleaned toilets, I shoveled ditches, I done the dirty work just to get by. And when I turned 21 years old, I got hired as a trooper. And I got uprooted and shipped down to South Alabama, and I had a choice to come home or suck it up and come on land. And that's what I did. And I was fortunate enough to work a lot of counties down south and work my way back home and see how different counties utilize different techniques and do things. And some that might work there might not work here, but vice versa. I've been exposed to all the elements thereof. And I transferred from there to game and fish. I always, my whole life, when I was a little boy, I wrote a little book. I wanted to be a game warden and a sheriff. And I pursued that goal, and I become a game warden. And I enjoyed that, and I loved that. And I prayed it back to the Lord. The Lord led me to a different route. And now I'm pursuing the office of sheriff. And I appreciate your support and your help and anything I can get from you. But as of today, openly, Lord willing, and only Lord willing, I'm proud to announce.
We just had another very distinguished guest walk in the back door, my grandson, DeKalb Steve. Bring the guitar.
It's in the car.
For those of you who don't know, Jacob is a Nashville recordings. So, now I know we've got some other people who have already announced their candidacy for other offices. Jeff McCurdy, the circuit judge, would you like to take a minute or so?
Sure. On Tuesday, we officially announced that I'll be running for circuit judge, place 2 for the 9th Judicial Circuit. Like Nick, I've been waiting for months to announce that because it's been known that I was going to run. We have a website, www.jeffmccurdyforcircuitjudge.com, and we have a Facebook page, Jeff McCurdy for Circuit Judge. Go check us out. I have t-shirts. I would have brought signs, but my car broke down on me, and they're all in the back of it, and it's getting worked on. So I guess that's just part of it. You know, you announce you're running, your car breaks down the next day. So, but if you want a sign, I'll be happy to get that to you. If you want a t-shirt, I'll be happy to get that to you. Go to our pages and like them and follow us, and you'll see where we're going to be in the days coming. But you know, I'm happy to announce it. I'm passionate about it. I'm ready to go, and you know, I appreciate your support and your help. Thank you.
Well, another elected official who slipped in back there called Dr. Barnett, our County Superintendent of Education. Good to have you here.
Good to be here, thank you all.
Lester Black has announced his candidacy for the County Commission, District 4. Would you like to?
Well, Jack, I just looking forward to getting out meeting people in the next few weeks, seeing what problems we have. I'm sure once you get started, they'll let you know. So, looking forward to it.
Thank you, Lester. Is there anybody else who has announced or would like to announce their candidacy this morning?
I'm Monty Darwin. I live in Sylvania. I plan on running for the school board position in Sylvania. I'm new to politics. I've never done this, but I'm determined to do it. Work hard with people. I appreciate the support.
Anybody else? I thought we were going to have a whole bunch whenever you get ready, and let me remind you again about the email addresses. If you'll give me your email address before you leave this meeting, I'll make sure that you are reminded about our next meeting. So, at this time, we're very fortunate to have our President Pro Tem of our state senate here with us. He, I'm sure, really needs no introduction to most of you. Senator Marsh is our neighbor over in Anniston, currently serving in his 5th term, I believe, 5th term in the state senate. A little bit of trivia, most of you may already know, but if for some reason our governor's office became vacant again before this term ends, Senator Marsh is next in the line of succession. Maybe he'll get to the governor's office, but I hope it's not that way. Anyway, at this time, would you like to come on?
I was all excited when I got here. I said, hey, what a great crowd to hear me. Then I realized to hear from Nick. But that's okay. I'm just glad you're here. I always enjoy coming up and speaking to this group. I am in my 5th term and serving as the pro tem of the Senate, which is a great job to have, especially when you have people like Steve and Clay to work with. It's really been a pleasure. The Senate has been, well, I'll say, I guess, fortunately, over the last couple of years, seems like it's the stable body of the state. We got a great group of men and women in the Senate, 35 of us, and I've been very proud of the way everyone has conducted themselves in this quadrennium. It's always interesting to me to come, and especially this time I say of year, but really every 4 years when we have these elections. And the fact of the matter is, and I'm of course from Calhoun County, and when I was elected in '98, I was the first Republican elected since Reconstruction to the state Senate from that county. And I was really one of only 2 Republicans elected in that county. And today there's only 1 Democrat elected in all of Calhoun County. That's the difference, the transition that's taken place. 2010 was a huge year in that was the year of the legislature, which was had been controlled again by the Democrats since Reconstruction. A big effort, and we took over the legislature by supermajority in both the House and the Senate. And since then, there have been a lot of changes, starting with ethics reform. We had a campaign finance reform. I'd say there's been a fair touch of education reform. So a lot of things have happened, and it's exciting to me as I look forward that now we have a situation where used to be you'd have to beg and plead someone to run as a Republican, and now we see multiple candidates for these races. And that is exciting. It's also challenging because it's nice to be the party in charge, but you want to make sure that those people coming into the party have the real true convictions of the Republican Party, conservative and fiscally responsible. And it's our job as Republicans to make sure people adhere to those values. So as we go forward, we've got to keep that in mind. I want to talk to you a little bit today about just some of the problems or challenges, I guess I should say, in the state. We still have them, and they're going to exist. We had, I thought, a pretty decent session. Got the budget passed as we always do in the state of Alabama. That's our constitutional duty, is the budget's #1. We've tried in the last several years to get those budgets done sooner rather than later. We pass a balanced budget. That state of Alabama. I wish all the other states, and I wish the federal government would do the same, but we've been very responsible with your dollars.
and we're going to continue to do that. In addition to the budgets, we also had to tackle reapportionment. The federal courts had determined that some of the Senate districts and House districts had to be changed. They weren't, they felt there had been some gerrymandering going on, so we got into that and tackled that during the regular session, got it done. We're still waiting on the courts to approve those. We hope they will be approved because obviously we'll be next year's election cycle. We need those in place for people to determine what district they're in so they can run. So we got that done. In the Senate, we also passed the prison bill. It got to the House and didn't make it out of the House. And I want to talk to you a little bit about, you know, no one gets excited over prisons. They don't get excited over prison bills. But the reality is we got some real challenges in our system. And there's a lot of different factors that go in why we get these challenges. Number one challenge in our prison system is that we're 180% of capacity. It means we got a, you know, over capacity by 80%, and we haven't been challenged on that on the federal level yet, but we could. We've also, in addition to that, have issues with mental illness in the prison. So 40% of that population has some sort of mental illness. 60% of that population does not have a high school education. You've got an aging population in prison that, quite honestly, have terminal illnesses that have to be dealt with. So we got a lot of things going on in the prisons. And the worry is, of course, as it always is, that the feds come in and intervene, and then you're forced to do something that you should have handled yourself. I believe, quite honestly, that the prison systems are one of those core responsibilities we have as a state. I mean, you've got to deal with it. And I thought we passed a pretty good bill out of the Senate to do those things, to address those several issues, but unfortunately, it did not get out of the House. So the governor and I met last week. She's contemplating whether or not to call us back to deal with that. But I think she's going to wait to see what the federal court, one of the judges is looking at the issue. If he comes with a ruling, she may call us back. If not, I guess we'll be back in January to deal with that. In addition to that, I'm going to tell you about two things that I think are very crucial to the state that we've got to look into. I don't know if we'll do it in this next next year, or probably the first and next quadrennium. And the two issues, one, which is always an issue in the state, is education. And I can tell you, in my opinion, that's going to be one of our biggest challenges going forward in economic development and enticing industry to come into this state. We have, as I mentioned to you, already heard the stats in the prisons of how many of those incarcerated don't have even a high school education. Well, we have some serious issues in education in this state. Some places there are pockets, and hopefully you're one of them, that things are pretty good. But when you only have 15% of your graduating students that are college ready, that's a problem. And when you look at the NAEP scores in math and reading that are in math, we're 51st in the country, and in reading I think it's 46th, then you've got to do something about that. So we have started in this past year, one thing the state has never had. It's never had a comprehensive education plan. In other words, K through 12, post-secondary, higher ed, have never sat in a room and created a seamless plan for education. And until you do that, you're going to continue to waste dollars and have problems. To give you an example, a couple of meetings I've had in the past year. One was higher ed. One of their concerns were the fact that they did not have a high enough percent of Alabama graduates coming into higher education. Well, if you remember the stat I gave you a few minutes ago, if you've only got 15% of your population college ready coming out of high school, you're going to have a lower percentage going into higher education. So there should be a direct connection with higher education to K-12 to help solve that problem. When they see that they're having to teach remedial courses in English and math, those should trigger the fact that you've got to do something to fix that problem. So last year we started a comprehensive education plan in which all these people are in the room. They're all in the room, everybody from all those three entities, and also school boards, superintendents, AEA, state school board members. We meet again next week, and we're talking, letting each group do a presentation of what their goals and objectives are going forward. And I've asked each of them to give the presentation, but don't proceed until we all get feedback. So that, for instance, if post-secondary lays out a plan and higher ed looks at that, or K-12 says, you know, if you would change this a little bit, it flows better with what we're doing and will give a better transition to that. And so everybody's communicating. I'm very encouraged by it. And my goal is by the end of this quadrennium to have all these entities sign off on a statewide comprehensive plan that they're all agree on. And that plan will help us budget going forward, because you've got to prioritize where your problems are to be able to reach those grade levels in reading and math and other things you want to accomplish in education. So I'm very encouraged by it, and I'm looking forward to working with those entities to have that produced before the next quadrennium. The other issue, which is critical, in my opinion, is infrastructure. In '92, and I think I talked to this group about this last time I was here, last time there was a gas tax in Alabama was in '92, 5 years ago. Now, if your gas tax was like your sales tax or anything else, it's based on a percentage, and it moves as the cost of goods move. But the gas tax was never set up that way. It's a flat number. And so what's happening today is you're having the same amount of money coming in, yet you've got most of your cars getting a third more miles to the gallon, so you get more wear and tear in the road for the same amount of taxes you're paying. And it's another way I put this, it's like going 25 years without a pay raise. And that's what we've got. And the reason I'm very concerned about this is, there again, when we compete with other states, trying to entice industry to come in, a lot of times what we've got to do is deal with infrastructure issues to entice them to come. Whether it's creating some kind of access to a new plant, or widening the more lanes on a road to accommodate that plant. Honda was an example in Talladega County, where we actually had the 4-lane Highway 78 that went by that plant. So those things have to be done. If you have no dollars to do that, you're at a disadvantage. So I ask you, and I don't see it happening. I hoped it was going to happen last year. You was talking of raising that and providing those dollars. And remember this, any dollars that go into the highway department are automatically scheduled for road and bridge repair. That's what it goes for. A percentage automatically goes back to counties and cities to use as they want in their local areas. It also, it's going to be critical if this president and Congress pass an infrastructure plan that you've got money to match those dollars and bring them down. So those things are going on, and we better be conscious of that and be ready when it happens. So those are two areas that I'm very, very hopeful that we'll address, if not this next year, at the beginning of the next quadrennium. Speaking of which, it's going to be possibly a big change. I told you about the reapportionment that had taken place in the last session. Well, in the Senate, which we have 35 members, I would not be surprised if you don't have as many as 10 new faces coming to the Alabama Senate. I mean, I know from the people who have already announced they're not coming back, and those who I think may be challenged in election. So you could have almost a third of the Senate new faces. In the House, I don't know that it'll be as large, but I do believe you're going to have a fair turnover there as well. And that's good and bad. It's bad in that you lose some knowledge and stability because of so many new faces. I say it's good because I experienced it in 2010 when we had so many new faces. People come in and they aren't scared of challenges, and they're ready to do what I think many times is the right thing, and they're not worried about getting reelected. Okay, and that's when people start voting just to get reelected, I think that's a problem. And you've got to do what I say is the right thing, and we can't please everybody all the time. But as long as you can stand behind your decision and have a decent reason for where you are, I think you're fine. And I say that, and I've been I've been a big push for school choice, and I catch a lot of heat on that, but I'm a believer, a huge believer in public education. I came through the public education system. Both my kids went to public school. My wife was a public school teacher. But I still think there's an element of school choice that has to be out there to challenge the public system to stay accountable. And I'm going to continue. I pushed the Accountability Act. I pushed public charter schools. And I'm going to continue to work with public education, as I explained earlier. I believe in it. I want to fix it. I'm going to do all I can to make the state of Alabama better than it's ever been. But I think there's always a component of school choice that needs to be part of that. And I've had this conversation with a lot of superintendents and board members. And I get it. You've got areas where they perceive there is no problem. Now, I would argue, I think as a state, we've got a problem where you've got low percentages, I said they were called already. But there are pockets that do a great job. But as senators and House members, we have to look beyond, in my opinion, you've got to look beyond the district and be statesmen when it comes to education and infrastructure. You've got to do what's best for this whole state, because we are competing not with just each other's counties and cities, we're competing with other states. And all of us know in this world we live in today, you are competing on an international basis, not just a local basis. So keep that in mind, and my colleagues here have been great on those issues. They understand it, they are statesmen, and we're going to continue to work to build that as these new people come in, to make sure that they are statesmen as well, so we move this forward. As I said, all in all, I'm pleased with the Senate. To give you a little education on that, as was mentioned a little earlier, when the situation happened when Governor Bentley stepped down and Kay Ivey went across, and she's been great to work with. Of course, Kay was, presided over the Senate for 7 years, and so she went over to the governor's office, and there's no process in the state of Alabama that when the lieutenant governor leaves, there's no process to appoint a new one. There's no process for a special election. And so basically, as president of the Senate, I have to assume the responsibility of the lieutenant governor. I'm not the lieutenant governor. I'm the president of the Senate, but I have to handle both those jobs, so which means that the lieutenant governor, of course, sits in the chair, presides over the body. But let me tell you, as president of the Senate, if anybody's ever watched it, it is impossible for me to control that body in that chair. I have to get out and work the floor. I mean, I do, because it's what I've always had to do. And so many times if you pull up and watch the Senate, which you can watch live feed, you probably won't see me in the chair. Because what I'll do is I'll get in the chair and I'll get us started. Any senator that makes a mistake to come up and talk to me, I put them in the chair and I get on the floor and I work the body. Because that's what you've got to do. It's the process we have. It's constantly, when you see problems, you've got to go to that senator and figure out what the problem is. So you keep things moving. Because we do. If you've watched the Senate in the last 2 quadrenniums, I really believe it's a fairly well-oiled machine. And it runs very well, and it's organized, and we get a lot done. I want to take a little time, if I can, just for questions, because generally we come and talk about things that are going on, but I realize a lot of times there may be things specific issues of interest to your area or yourselves that you have questions on, so I want to take a little time for questions. If I can, is that okay?
Sure.
Yes.
You said you might see 10 new faces in the Senate, 4 as Democrats, Republicans. How do you see that? You see that number changing?
No. We have 26 Republicans in the Senate now, and I anticipate that number will either stay at 26 or go to 27. That's my projection. Now, in 2010, I estimated we'd go to supermajority. I was finance chair of the party at that time, I was very involved in the organization of the takeover. And we hit, and then in the next, and these guys will tell you, I remember sitting in a caucus meeting before the 2014 election, the year before, and I told them my objective was to come back to 26, and what do we got? We got 26. And I believe this time we're going to end up with either 27 or 26, and the reason is you got one independent, Harry Smith, who I do not believe is coming back, and I believe that's a Republican district, so we should pick it up. The problem we could have is in Etowah County, in that Phil Williams, who is not seeking re-election, had in the old redistricting plan, he had a portion of St. Clair County, which is very Republican. He lost that and picked up a section of Cherokee. And I'm not convinced that that Cherokee piece is of a great advantage. In Phil's district and probably mine were the two, what I would call swing districts in the state, that they could go either way. So we're going to have to really make sure we have a good candidate in Phil's district, because Phil's been a great senator, and I hope we can hold that one. But I feel either way. But remember this. Of course, you need to have 21. That gets you to where you can do anything you need in that body, because you can closure whatever you need to do. And I'm going to tell you from experience, I'd rather have 21 solid Republicans than 26 maybe Republicans. Okay, so let's make sure as we go through our we make sure we've got real Republicans in those slots, and that's my goal. And I'm already. In fact, I was meeting with some folks last week about this next cycle. We're already starting to do some polling, starting to look at the candidates they've already pre-announced out there. We're vetting those people to make sure they're who they say they are. Because right now, there's a lot of folks who want to be Republicans, but you've got to make sure they really are. Yes, sir.
How much of an increase on the gas tax are we looking at initially?
Initially, and let me say this first. If you look back in '92 when the gas tax was put on, it represented 16% of the price of a gallon of gasoline. Okay? What they have talked about, and actually with some legislation last year looked at, was a 9-cent increase, but it was 4, 2, 3. It was 4 cents right out of the chute, then a 2-cent increment in I think 2 years, and another 2 years it's going to again. Now I'll be honest with you. If I had my rathers, I'd rather go in there and say, okay, let's make it just a percentage. I don't care, make it 10%, like you do on sales tax, whatever. Even though it was 16 when it was first put in place, because that way it moves with your product, and you're not having to come back 25 years later and say, well, here we are again. You know, that's me, but I was overruled by those talking about it, and they wanted to go with the 3, 2, 4, and that was fine. So that's what they were looking at last year. But what I suggested we do in this next year is go in and, if nothing else, predetermine the formula. There are those who want to change the formula, where the cities and counties perhaps get more of that cut. I say we fix the formula, and that way, once the formula is in place, whatever, it's easier, in my opinion, when everybody knows exactly what the formula looks like, then to pass a tax. So I do not anticipate a tax unless the president passes a major infrastructure program in which we have to react. Anything else? Yes, sir.
I have a question for you, Senator, but I do want to say that DA, I spent a lot of time down in the session this time for law enforcement purposes. And I have to tell you folks, if you don't know these gentlemen on a personal level, you need to get to know them. Senator Marsh, she did a remarkable job on the reapportionment issues. That was quite a challenge for the entire Senate. You did a remarkable job on that. And Senator Schofield and Senator Livingston, along with Senator Marsh, have worked very hard for North Alabama. You don't realize the competing interests down there and how much they do work for us. So on behalf of the DAs, law enforcement, and for all the citizens of our area up here particularly, I want to thank you all, you three, for your hard work and for the excellent job y'all are doing. So I appreciate it very much.
I wanted to say real quick along the lines is one reason, and Steve, you probably read where the House had a lot of problems. I mean, it really got out of control. But the important thing is to remember it, and these guys know it, and if you watch the Senate, the way the Senate conducts business, there's no doubt who's in control. The Republicans have a supermajority. But even though you have that, you still have to let the other side have a voice and feel they had a shot at getting their point across. And if you watch the reapportionment process in which the Democrats were allowed to go on the floor, do a presentation of why they thought the redistricting should go this way, at the end of the day, we knew we were going to win because we created a fair plan, but you still have to let people have a voice. And if you always remember that, I had the saying, true strength is the ability to be fair when you have total control. Okay, so when these guys are strong enough to say, yeah, you know, we can run over them, but let's be fair, let them have their voice, let them have their time, and then let's move our agenda. And that's what's happened, and that's why it works well in the Senate, and it will continue to work well, I think, as long as we always keep that mindset. It's been my pleasure to be here today. Thanks for being a good Republican, and keep, and always, those that are running out there, man, it takes a tremendous amount of commitment and time. And one of the things they need, and I know it's voice, is that ground support. Get involved when you can with these campaigns. It's so, I can remember last time I ran, it's so good to pull up a Saturday morning and see a group of people there willing to go out and knock on doors and put up signs. It's a lot of work, and it makes it so much more enjoyable when you've got members of your community who want to be involved. So try to get involved if you can. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful week.
Does anybody else have anything you'd like to say this morning? We're about to finish a little earlier than we do sometimes. Is there any in that, Scotty?
I forgot to mention earlier, June 17th at the headquarters, we're going to have a kind of a primary kickoff parties, which kind of from about 1 o'clock on, it's a third Saturday too. So there'll be a car show right out in front, live music and stuff that afternoon. But, we're just going to kind of be there about 1 o'clock on, so y'all come out and visit with us. Hang out.
Thank you, Scotty. I wanted Scotty to mention his address earlier. It's 222 Gulf Avenue North. Find out where we are and we're ready to be there next Saturday. Are there any other announcements?
Jack,
Lester Black.
we're having, the executive committee member Tuesday night. Hard to believe it's already the second Tuesday in June coming up. And two, I would like to put a rumor to rest concerning, I have not been cahooting with the Russians.
I think that's a bunch of coffee.
Jack, I want to tell all of you that are here this morning, welcome y'all. I am the vice president of our ladies organization, so if you all husbands who are here without your wives, please encourage them to give me a holler. I'm not hard to get a hold of. Get a hold of Scotty or Jack or anybody to get my number, because we of course will be planning these events and stuff. So get with me, let me get your information so that we can get together. Or Miss Jane, she is very vital to our ladies organization, and we'll be glad to give y'all some direction, and we want to welcome y'all in as well.
Thank you. Our speaker next month will be Senator Tripp Pittman, who is a candidate for the U.S. Senate. And don't know for sure about August. I think Mo Brooks may be with us at our August meeting, but that's not confirmed yet. Any other announcement? Don't forget to give me your email address. And good morning, see you next month.